Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I have gathered my water, I have soothed my voice for a small amount of time, and well, we're just going to jump back right into it. We're going to assert our right to the summation examination and see whatever the hell this new minigame is going to be. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's position is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. No, this is Ace Attorney. Sorry. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? Eh? Well, I'm not, there was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so, all members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot.
This is most irregular. No mention of this was made before.
I don't really hold with all this justifying, Lark. That seems to have thrown the jurors off.
It seems none of them have experienced this before.
Alright then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for, to turn this trial around. Well, we haven't really had an opportunity this entire time. Except for that cross-examination, but there was no inconsistencies in that one, so we didn't really have an opportunity there either. So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of this most serious crime. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence.
He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say, absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't even raised prices above 4 pence for years. The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. It beggars belief. Oh, really? Now that's the last one is the right one.
Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they?
Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language. Well, first, we're going to check 2 things here. One, you can check this. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry.
Oh dear. Do you really think we ought to look inside?
Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder.
I assure you we will not find Mr. Sholmes's name inside.
Well, let's see what we find.
Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it?
Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off.
Ah, goodness!
What is it?
Look at this! Do you see the name here?
Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean something to me? It does sound strangely familiar, actually.
Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment. Oh, yes, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. So yes, I noticed that when I was playing this through the first time. But I'm in uncharted territory right now other than this stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and check the inside of this omnibus too. Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? Ugh, the scene of a murder. It's horrible. I noticed that if you go inside here, we see this blood. That's blood that soaked into the seat. The victim's, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab somebody in full view of the other passengers like that, I wonder? Well, it was after dark, and there was a lamp on in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside through the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. So yeah, that's what I wanted to point out. The blood there on the seat. This also shows it. That he's on the seat there. So yeah. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. Is there something we don't know? According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh, so it works a different way. I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, we then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see, so it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. Ooh, a double. I have to pull this off. Alright.
Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal.
Yes, my lord. Jury examination. The defense's rebuttal. Alright, so you can pit them against one another. Four passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. Oh, interesting. So that's a contradiction right there. I was gonna say that it was this guy. He stuck the chap next to him just like this, and then you said he stabbed him on the floor. But if he stabs him on the floor, then how could he have stabbed him straight across like that? So I feel like there's two that I could pit against one another. What did the first guy say? I'm gonna pit you against him.
Objection!
Got him. Those two statements clearly contradict each other.
They do? Explain yourself, counsel.
Me? Oh dear, what have I said?
I swear on Silverblaze's maiden name, I haven't the first idea what you're talking about.
According to the group testimony we've heard so far, ooh, we're walking back and forth. And we got a nice little objection theme here too. There were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question, and according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares.
Quite right. I have those precise details neatly typed here in front of me.
And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence.
But it is a fair and convenient single price, just the way London's carriages should be operated.
But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts.
Why, man, why?
4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication... Huh? It would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare.
1 person's fare?
Yes. In other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about.
Good gracious!
This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword.
The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy.
I beg your pardon? Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus.
Alright then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end,
Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side of the set of scales.
Now, hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why do you have to go and...
Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo! Hey, guess what?
This is all very irritating.
Begging your pardon, sir. I'm going to do the same.
For the love of Mike, not you as well.
A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters. Holy shit, this maid is so rigorous in her like, oh god, I can't even remember the word at the moment. Her morals, her way of life. She's so rigid and... oh my god.
Oh, really?
I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it! If we can manage to change 2 or more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more. Actually, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. Ah, see? That's where you must strike next. So I need to pit two more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertions. Exactly! You can do it!
Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination.
Slipshod bookkeeper. Well, I want to see what this guy has to say. Not guilty, I say. So I'm going to pit her against him.
Objection!
This one makes no sense either. Those two statements are completely contradictory.
What?
Explain, counsel, post haste!
Oh, dearie me, I was only knitting a jumper for my other half.
What is all this claptrap, and what does contradictory even mean, I ask you? We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3.
What? Can't you see that I'm busy here?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it?
Ha! Want to test me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. Just like the prim baker said. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true.
Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man?
What can I do you for, young man? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam?
Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now, don't move. Take a look at these two jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor.
Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions.
What?
Bless my stitches. What a muddle.
What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth.
Oh,
but why? Why the dickens would they lie? I don't know that yet, but what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience?
lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies.
And they're equal again.
The scales.
I don't believe it. Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all.
If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this?
Answer me this, Dark Jinx.
Dark Jinx. That's a word. That's a fucking name. I love it. Huh? Me?
What exactly is the problem? What of it if two witnesses have slightly different recollections of events?
What of it?
Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus. And this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor and then the Shylock stabbed him again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, hmm?
Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you!
Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you!
Ugh, they're ready to kill each other now. This is about how I expected it would turn out. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? Well, I don't think so, because I think this thing says a single stab wound to the abdomen. So, yeah, no, that's out of the question. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman,
Huh? What is it, you dark jinx? Come on, out with it.
what you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question.
What? What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me some proof.
It looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish.
What?
I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime, as proven by, well, first I'm going to save. I don't typically save as often as you see a lot of people do. There's a lot of people that when they're playing Ace Attorney, they'll just save every single time they present some evidence. I only save if I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and present this.
Take that!
This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen. Only once.
Only once?
It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen two different times.
Alright, I concede defeat.
Hey, you did it. Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty.
We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've won!
What are you playing at, you dandy fool?
Shut your trap, sir! No one deceives me.
But we had a consensus.
I said shut your trap! I know a liar when I see one, and if the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head.
This guy's creepy as fuck. Are we sure he's not the murderer? Please tell me he's a barber. He's Sweeney Todd.
Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witness to return to their places.
Witnesses to return to their places.
And I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Ziets, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please.
I need a fucking drink. He's me, dude. I don't even drink, and it's like, I need a fucking drink after this shit. Oh? Oh, shit! Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hollowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray, forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zieks!
Is it cold in here, or is it just me? I'm sorry for the failed... I don't know how to onomatopoeia shivering. As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honored a deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No, And why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Oh, cape off. Bring forth the witnesses once more. Alright. Warm-up round is over. Let's go. Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure.
Oh, yes, sir. That I did, sir.
Of course I had it.
Oh, yes, sir. I heard it.
You, sir, on the end, the coachman. I believe it's Beppo. Yes, sir, my lord, sir. If it transpires that in your previous testimony, you were attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir. Oh, Dio mio. Oh, mio Dio. Oh.
I believe that's Spanish or Portuguese for, oh my god. I didn't know that he was an immigrant. Well, I guess his name is Beppo. Taking another drink real quick. My voice is going through the ringer at the moment.
Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination.
That was fun. I actually like that summation examination. You get to turn people against one another, and it becomes rather funny, actually. I like it. I hope we get to do it again. Various misgivings.
I only carried 4 passengers that night. I swear it. But
Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus.
He fiddled us on the fare, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes.
What?
Counsel, make sense of this for me, please.
The phantom 5th passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cousinage.
Oh,
Beppo, explain yourself.
I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster.
The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare?
It's so cold, and the last run of the day is always half empty. You have been dishonest, coachman. Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're a disgrace, Beppo. A disgrace. And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild.
If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week.
What?
4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently.
No, that figures. What are you doing there, Susanoo? I'm a little confused.
Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, if you please.
We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Absolutely.
Not letting him intimidate us, I like that. This guy, he's so stuttery. And I know it's because he's kind of cold, but it also could be because he's hiding something. And the ba-ba-ba at the end of his
sentences and all that.
Hold it!
Just screams press. So there were only 4 passengers on your carriage, but you didn't charge them the standard 4-pence fare. Is that right?
It's impossible to make the last run of the day pay. I was so cold, it was all I could do to stop myself from passing out.
I'm getting chilblains just listening to you. I don't know what those are.
It was terrible, so I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for even attempting the bus, for even keeping the bus running. Doesn't a dedicated coachman deserve an extra penny per passenger?
Oh my god. You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a 5th passenger on the omnibus that night, then we would have had another suspect. Says nothing.
Hold it!
That's so. Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4?
Well, I paid 5 pence too, sir.
And I just told you that I did.
Fly fare 5 pence across the board.
It's not something to be proud of. The so-called discrepancy my learned friend identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed, it's gone, dead and buried. I'd have been happy if it had ever existed in the first place. I think I want to... I want to press this guy first. Earlier, you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's right.
You said that the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice pick grip.
I suppose. I might have, you know, yes, but the cart before the horse, maybe.
What's this?
Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from behind the seats on the roof deck.
Oh, I expect that was me, sir.
Then when I turned around, yes, I saw it through the skylight. The gentleman was on the floor, and the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. That's right, yes, and the fellow holding the handle was the famous man. Yes.
So in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all?
I really thought that I did, but when I go over it again in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing, did I?
Interesting.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay?
Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Eh?
Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? Some days are like that. That was good. Well, it is a little hard to believe, certainly. Unless you spend your time peeping through a skylight on the top of an omnibus, that is.
Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you know. I know what I saw. I remember it as clear as a Ballarat day. It was a grim scene, I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay.
Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord.
I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw.
Oh, I can do that all right. I'll I'll tell you just how grim it was. I just noticed that his mustache thing is like in the shape of a W, like Wario. It's kind of ridiculous, and I love it. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after the butcher stabbed the man? Oh, okay. Well, he is wearing gloves.
Objection!
So that's not it. Blood-soaked hands? Well, I admit that soaked might be laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. Oh, I haven't seen us in that position before. We're like, got our hand on the sword and grinning a bit. This is great. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question. Oh, yes, right. And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain there, but as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove. Ah! What was he doing with his cane there for a second? Oh my god. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. Yeah! But no, that can't be right.
So you're the liar here, then?
Gah!
That's right, you were quite clear about it. You said it was both hands.
Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands, it was only one, but the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection!
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Why? I'm a city banker, for Pete's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate. He's claiming to have no reason to lie. But is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying, it could turn the tide in this trial completely. I agree with that, Susato. And in the next episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, we will present that proof. Hint, it's the banker, it's the ledger. The debtor's ledger. So yeah. Thank you guys very much for making your way this far in this Let's Play. It's fun. It's pretty fun so far. This case so far, I definitely like court case stuff much more than the other things in Ace Attorney. So this is getting real fun so far. So yeah, next time we're gonna prove Mr. Fairplay has an ulterior motive, at least, to fabricate his testimony. And I hope you guys tune in then. So, thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys in the next one.